So before we render, we need to add some materials. So we click on this icon on the left hand side and we go to the Appearances, Scenes and Decals library. So we've got Appearances on the left hand panel, Appearances on the right, and we can drag and drop various different appearances, and we can apply these to solids, we can apply these to faces. So the brush steel that I just dragged in, I'm now bringing it, then once it's associated with the model, it's added to the Appearances library on the left hand side. So you start off on the right, find your material, which in this case was a brush steel, and then you add it. So now we're looking for a wood. So we're organic, then we've gone into wood. Let's find a nice oak. We're going to probably try a few different oaks. So we're adding it to the structural member. Let's see. This can be sometimes a little bit hit and miss. See what works. You might try and use just the one type. These are all just default materials. So we're applying all these to the structural member. So far we've used polished oak end grain. We had used it twice. Now we've used polished oak twice. Could have just once we added it the first time, we could have just dragged it in from the left hand side rather than the right. So there you go, face all structural member. Let's just there you go. So we can drag things in because they're in our model after we've dragged them in from the right hand side. So we're applying to the structural member. That's not worked. Didn't select it properly. There you go. Click on the structural member and it will add it. That's the one I want. Okay. So we need to apply also to these door panels. Okay, so we need to do the back. It's a fairly simple model. Dragging and dropping just suits our purpose without moving stuff around. Okay, and that's our model at least prepped for rendering. Okay, so now let's try and set this scene up for rendering. So let's just do an initial final render just to see what we've got by default. So we've got a bit of a lens flare there by the door, you can see already. Okay, and we're lacking shadow, and we're kind of lacking definition as well. So there are various things we can do. So this is not going to be a comprehensive rendering tutorial. This is just going to be some tips and tricks just to get what I'm looking for out of this model, just to get a fairly useful rendering. So let's go. We're going into Edit Scene. We're just checking out checking out if there's anything in here we can change. So I'm looking at the floor shadows. So we went into Basic, clicked Floor Shadows, go to Select Plane, and I want to align my floor shadows with the bottom of the part. Okay, I don't want them offset. I'm not going to change the background color. not initially looking to change the illumination in the scene. Okay. So change to perspective view because it looks better as a rendering. The shadows in shaded mode are on, so we don't need to change that. Let's have a look at our individual lights. So we haven't got a lot of information there, so let's close that ambient light. Let's go into the directional light. So edit directional light or edit all lights. Edit all lights. Okay, so this is just some basic parameters for all of our lights. Don't want to change too much. Shadows, let's click on shadows. So we're going to increase the softness of our shadow, and we're going to make sure we've got decent quality shadow as well. So let's increase the quality. Just see, go into options, and this probably isn't something that you would do too often, but I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to add an outline to my rendering just to kind of highlight the edges. So my outline is too thick and it's going to be black. Okay, so final render. Let's see what we get back. So we got some definition coming through. Definitely have a shadow. Got some shadow from the lip underneath the tabletop and behind the cabinet. Should, when we get down there, soften right up because we raise the quality. And there you have a edited rendering of our cabinet.